I like to ask people these questions. Who were you before society told you who to be?
Hey, welcome to Wonderful Works Talks, where we talk all about the disability ministry mission of helping churches become accessible for all. I'm your host, Barb Stanley, and today we have a really deep conversation with Steven McCoy, who is the world's first Black DeafBlind journalist and founder of Spoken Heroes, an organization that helps equip students with disabilities for the workforce. And trust me, you're going to want to hear this because it's chock full of good stuff. But before we get to today's episode, I have a question for you. Who were you before society told you who to be? Well, this is a question that Steven likes to ask others, and today we're going to talk all about it. And we're going to talk about why believing in your true worth can make all the difference in life, especially when life feels hard, why we should never make assumptions about people, and how we can help bridge the gap between communities so that we can all work together, literally. Now, a few quick notes before we get started. I do want to let listeners know that in today's episode, we do talk about some heavy things such as suicidal ideation. So if this is a sensitive subject for you, please be advised before you listen. And one more thing, we also want to let you know that today's episode will be available in both audio and video format with closed captioning. Check the podcast notes for more. So, without further ado, please help me welcome Steven McCoy. Well, we are so excited today to be talking to Steven McCoy. He is the United States' first Black DeafBlind journalist and the founder and president of Spoken Heroes organization, whose mission it is to empower and support disabled students by providing them with essential resources that increase their chances of employment. So, Steven, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much. And actually, correction, the world's first, actually. World's first.
Oh, really? The world?
Yes, yes,
Wow.
I know. That was it was at first the United States, and then it was so many different things that were happening. But yes, officially the world's first Black deafblind journalist, which is very surreal.
That is
Yeah,
exciting. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later in this
yeah.
podcast. But in the meantime, can you tell us, you and I met at a conference, the Disability in the Church conference, and right away I knew you were someone who was super passionate about what they do. And you're super passionate about bridging that gap between people with disabilities and people who do not have disabilities and how to get people working together. Can you tell us why you are so passionate about your mission?
Yeah, I think if we bridge the gap between the able-bodied and disability community, there's equality in that. We are all be able to learn to work together because there are people right now that are living their lives as able-bodied individuals,
Mhm.
but we're all not exempt from accidents that are
Right.
happening. And the number one thing that we're not exempt from is aging. And
Yeah.
that is the time where, you may have a pain in your knee or your arm or something. And our body, while we're here on earth, of course, we can go to the gym, we could do all of these different things to strengthening our strength and our bodies, but is not made to be forever. And when the time comes when something goes wrong, or just when your body just don't work the way that it used to, your hearing starts to decrease or your vision starts to blur, there will be things already in place for us to be able to still continue living.
Right.
And there's no sort of ableism or discrimination against disabilities or ageism. So I think it's very important for us to learn to be able to work together, whether it is whatever disability it is or whatever age you are. Um, this is why I'm very passionate about it, because it's something that we are all actually exempt from.
Right.
So we might as well just invest in it now.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm going to be 52.
Wow, you look amazing.
Oh, thank
Although
you.
they do say the new 50s are definitely like the new 20s
Oh,
nowadays.
yes. Yes.
So yeah. Go
I'll
ahead.
pretend that is true, but
Yes, no, it
yeah.
really is. It's not like, when we were a lot younger and your
Mhm.
grandma or my grandmother.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. My grandmother definitely looked very young, and
Uh-huh.
but yeah, that cheers to that.
Yeah.
Amen.
Well, we'll take the 50s as the new 20s, but in my
Yeah.
20s, I have I have noticed some things you're talking about, especially with my vision. And so what you're saying is so true. I think a lot of times we think about people being in separate groups, disabled or not disabled, and that's just not true. Can you share a little bit about your story and why this is personally important to you?
Yes. Just me growing up in North New Jersey. Um, It was not easy for me. As I known since the age of 5, I have a hearing disability.
Mhm.
And of course, at a later age, I then discovered at the age of 30 that I was going blind. And my hearing disability was connected to
Mhm.
an eye disease called Usher syndrome, so which causes a condition called retinitis pigmentosa, which create dark spots and poor night vision. So it was very tough for me in the later stage, but as a child, I've only known about my hearing disability. So I had gotten teased a lot in school, and I was very much ashamed of my disability. People pretty much taught me to begin to dislike and hate myself.
Mm.
And it wasn't only from my peers, it was also from some of my teachers.
Wow.
I grew up in an urban environment in poverty, and I don't think there was a lot of knowledge when it came to people with disabilities. Oftentimes, people took that as, you're just a thing. You don't have feelings and
Mm.
you don't have an intellect, and you can only go but so far.
Mhm.
And it was really interesting. And I started to believe the same thing that other people thought. But at the same time, in my mind, I just knew. I never forget the moment where my mother introduced me to God, and we were in the bed, and she told me about God, and I was very fearful to know that there would be someone that's watching me no matter what, even if I ran in the closet and hide. But once we started to delve into, the story of how we were created and good representation and all of those things, I there was a comfort that that comfort has carried me throughout life
Mhm.
and throughout school, even when people have told me to change my voice, because my voice, I don't know if I do have a distinctive voice, but also I don't know if it comes from my hearing disability or not, but I just know it is quite unique. And sometimes, even if I'm going grocery shopping, I might have to keep it down because there's definitely going to be someone who comes from the other side and say, "Is that Steven?" you know.
Yeah.
So, so I try to keep it very low key. It's interesting. People really do recognize my voice. It's very interesting, but the thing about my voice, I developed selective mutism because of the traumatic experience of me being abused, not only by my peers but adults as well. And I just kept quiet. I went into a silent treatment, and I was given a composition notebook by my mother, and she just told me to write out my thoughts and write how I feel, um and I had no problems writing. I love to write. That was my playground. My pencil, my pen, that was my playground. And I fell in love with words and vocabulary, and that actually sparked my love for journalism. And um throughout high school, I did plays and things. That's when I started to come into my own, because I always actually originally wanted to be an actor. But the only reason I was comfortable in being an actor was because I was comfortable in hiding behind a character. So it's interesting now because I find myself nowadays wanting to get back into acting because now I know who I am.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I won't get lost in a character. I would know how to cut it on and to cut it off. I'm very comfortable now with who I am. So, whereas though many years ago, I just wanted to be anybody I can be, because it seems like, in a way, everyone loved everyone better than me at the time. So it was a lonely and scary road. I was just afraid of people.
Yeah.
And so I started to do internships, and I did 5 years of unpaid internships. I didn't have a lot.
Yeah.
And then I finally had the opportunity of a lifetime to get the internship with Disney, where I moved down to Orlando, Florida, and that was the start of my entire career. So the rest is honestly history, and I can explain more, but I don't want to keep going.
Well, I would like to unpack a little bit of that, because you said a lot of really important things. And so the first thing I want to go back to is, you said when you were in school, and this is when you just had a hearing impairment, right?
Yeah.
That some of your classmates and some of your teachers made you feel less than, is what I'm hearing. And you internalized that to the point you chose selective mutism. And for those who don't really understand what selective mutism means, that means someone does have the ability to speak, but they choose not to. And usually that comes because of some trauma. That's my understanding. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I want people to hear this for a second, because again, Stephen, I've talked to you a couple different times, but every time I've talked to you, I know you are incredibly intelligent and very passionate. And so to hear that people didn't recognize that to the point where you were treated as someone who wasn't that way, that makes me really upset to hear that. I want people to stop here for a second, because we hear this a lot in the disability community, that especially people who might have a physical disability, that often they are treated as though they have an intellectual disability. And that's usually not true. And when we see, when we do this, when we don't stop to really get to know the person, then I want people to realize it has an impact. And you just shared that with what happened to you as a child with the selective mutism.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What would you want people to know if they are meeting someone for the first time that may have a disability they don't understand? What do you want them to know from your point of view?
I think it's so important to not to make assumptions, and also to have patience. I promise you, if you have patience with someone, you will get through to them, and they will get through to you. They will come around. It's just sometimes it's a level of comfortability. And when people have disabilities, oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes one may feel isolated from the world, and one may feel judged. And for me, I absolutely felt that way, and I was so afraid to speak, to the point where I actually had to repeat the same grade again, because how can they allow you to pass the grade if they don't know if you've actually learned anything, because you're not speaking?
Right.
So for me, I started to take speech lessons. That gave me somewhat of a boost of confidence in knowing how to articulate my words. And it's not that, I don't know if it wasn't that I wasn't able to, but there were some differences there for sure, considering the fact that I was not able to hear myself in the best way as everyone else. So just give people time and take and be patient. You would want someone to be patient with you, so just be patient. I understand because I even myself, as someone with a disability, I'm speaking to different people with various disabilities. And myself, I have to be patient with those who don't share the same disabilities as me. But I enjoy it because communication, that is my basketball court,
Yeah.
and I love it. I take it as a challenge to be able to sit and understand no matter how, how long it takes for you to complete your sentence,
Yeah.
whatever it is, I just enjoy it. So just have patience. I mean, for the love of humanity, just have patience.
Yes. Yes. That is a good word. When I was doing a little research and I listened to your podcast, Sessions with Steven, which I highly recommend. And
Thank you.
you had an episode called Knowing Your Worth, where you were kind of telling a little bit of your story. So I noticed in there, it sounds like you had an amazing mother who really poured into you that you needed to know your worth. So what I want
Yeah.
to know is, because hearing your story that you had people who were kind of giving you negative feedback, and then you had your mother, and I'm hoping some other people that were giving you, like telling you the truth about positive feedback and who you are. What made you turn that corner to stop being afraid and to embrace that you are worthwhile?
Yeah.
Sorry, I ask hard questions. That's just
No,
what
no.
I do.
Love it. These are amazing questions, and thank you for them. I definitely would. I believe as a child, you always believe what your parents may tell you.
Mhm,
They are your first resources to the world,
mhm.
and she has never served me wrong and spared me wrong as well. So although I've had my own intuition of things, like even when I first got my hearing aids molded, I was excited about that. Woo, there's clay in my ears and they're molding hearing aids. But the moment that it became a physical hearing aid, a device, and I had to put it on, this thing that we now know is called anxiety that we did not know at the time, it came over me. And I remember telling her, I think that people are gonna be talking about me. That is what I said to her. She said, "No, Stephen, it's gonna be all right or whatever," and people did. But one thing she did was definitely have my back, and even when the teachers have spoken about me and even have physically put their hands on me, which is crazy. I've had to beg my mother not to jump over the desk. I mean, any parent
Yeah.
who, especially if you know your child is an innocent child, it was just scary to me. I was just afraid of the world. And I didn't understand why people were just so mean to me. But yeah, my mother has definitely always been there, even now, with me having my nonprofit organization, Spoken Heroes. She is the facilitator for the parents and family support group.
I love it.
And a lot of times we don't understand, we don't know what the parents are going through. And my mother, she was a young mom,
Yeah.
and it was a lot that she had to prove in a way because a lot of people have doubted her. And a lot of people were already doubting me because I grew up in a single parent home.
Mhm.
And it was it was really scary, and my mother was pretty tough on me. But honestly, for the world that I am a part of now, I did need that because me and my mother, we've had conversations, and I'm like, well, I don't know if you had to be that hard on me, but realistically, life has been extremely hard on me, and if I didn't have that,
Yeah.
I would have absolutely cracked. And I almost did. I almost did crack. So I'm absolutely where a lot of men, older men in the environment that I grew up in, where they were, literally physically abusing me to tell because they wanted me to be tough.
Uh-huh.
And in the urban environment, they're like, if you're not tough, you would never survive.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a survival mindset. And I just remember like running in rooms and saying to myself, like, is this the way it's going to be for the rest of my life? And I'm so glad that it was not. And I'm absolutely am tough. And I can be as tough as anyone in a room with a big heart.
Yeah.
And I think that's the toughest thing that you can do is to be able to choose love
Mm-hmm.
and let that be the center of everything else because I don't carry the traumas and all of those negative things that other people bring, like that generational trauma. I don't know. Me and friends were just speaking about that recently.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important that we unlearn a lot of things, unlearn a lot of habits,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to ask people these questions. Who were you before society told you who to be?
Mm-hmm.
And I am truly who I am,
Mm-hmm.
without all of that. I take some things with me that I feel and I pull those things out when necessary.
Yeah.
But I am a certified lover boy and
Yeah.
I just really and I am a child of God and
Yeah.
I'm not perfect, but I think it's just important to just choose good over darkness if we can. If we can do that, absolutely do that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm grateful for my mother for
Yeah.
instilling that in me. One thing she has always, for my little brother and I, my mother do not like liars or thieves. So those are things that we've never done. And I've been in situations where it was very close and it was a very tight situations where I had different opportunities and it would have caused me to go against what I believed in. And she has most certainly said, if you listen to nothing else that I've ever said, one thing I don't want you to ever do is to deceive anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I've taken that to heart, and I don't live a life of deceiving anyone, and so I stand on that when I'm in business meetings and things like that. If it doesn't serve me and it doesn't serve what I believe in or the people that I fight for every day, then we'll just pull the plug then and there.
Yeah. That's funny because I can tell that about you. So that you are genuine. So when you say that that was something she taught you and was very, very big on that, I'm not surprised because you present as someone who you can trust what they say and, you're going to tell them the truth. And I think that's funny because that's something, I mean, I'm not trying to sound like I'm like your mom, but I do try to tell my kids that all the time because
Yeah.
if people can't trust you, then you have nothing. And what I'm hearing you say is one of the reasons why you were able to say, I'm going to choose to believe in myself is because you knew you could trust your mother. When she told you something, she was telling you the truth.
Yeah.
So if she said, you are worthwhile, you are an image bearer of God, she meant it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That just goes, I mean, it really just goes to the power, I think, of relationship and also the power of parenting. So anyone listening to this that's a parent, your kids
Yeah.
are listening to what you say.
Absolutely. And I give my hats off to the parents that are showing up and speaking up
Mm-hmm.
and showing out for their children.
Yeah.
And even when I just got back from the Netherlands, and that is something I said in my speech that I just wanted to just pay homage to the parents out there because without you guys, we could not be. So, and we know it's not easy for you guys. And what most people don't understand is that those that carry the disabilities, that have the disability, oftentimes we don't want our parent to have to suffer because we may carry a certain burden, and we may put things in your own mind and saying that maybe she would prefer this person to be her son than me, and those sorts of
Oh,
negative
no.
things. Then yeah.
No.
So
No way.
yeah. So I had to most certainly have those communications at a young age
Yeah.
with my mother, and she most certainly reassured me that, you know, she definitely loved me, and
Yeah.
she fights for me, and she would not have any other son beside me, and my
Yeah.
little brother as
Yeah.
well.
Well, I think sounds like your mom did a great job, and we may have to have her on the podcast next.
I'm sure she would love
Yeah,
that.
I might be calling her because
Hopefully she don't spill too much
yeah.
business. But no.
But it's just so important. I just want to encourage people out there, especially if you have a child who is getting bullied or having people not treating them well outside the home, you matter even more. I mean,
Mhm.
you're a living testament to that because
Thank you.
thank
Yeah.
goodness you chose to believe her and keep going. So,
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit more about your career? Like we left off, you got an internship at Disney. So, tell us a little bit about your journalism career.
Yes. I once I had my internship with Disney,
Mhm.
it went very great. It was the first time where people wasn't actually judging me or staring into my ears, speaking to me, just looking at my hearing aid. you know. And it made me more confident. It gave me that confidence to just communicate efficiently rather than maybe pausing in between my conversations or things because I'm feeling judged and you're not looking at me in my eyes. So it just made me more confident, and I did a great job according to Disney at the end of my internship, and they wanted to hire me full time. However, I had 6 more months to finish school, and I had to make a decision because actually, if I complete college, that would make me the first generation to actually graduate out of the males in my family. My mother was the first, and as the female, and on both sides of my family, I would be the first male. And I decided I wanted to break that curse, and if anything, at least I have something to fall back on. So I chose to come back to New Jersey and to finish school. During those 6 months, I went and worked at a Disney store because I didn't want to lose my
Mhm.
Disney ID employee number. So I wanted to keep it going because I'm like, I know that I want to go back somehow. I just don't know exactly what's going to be the turnout. But during me working at the Disney store, I did something called Story Time with Steven, and I would sit on the floor and speak with the kids and parents. They loved that. They would come into the store and actually schedule Story Time with Steven. We had a whole sheet of it was the whole schedule. It was super funny that how it turned out that way. And the district manager heard about it because we was getting great reviews from the store with that, and the district manager came in and she spoke to me about just asking me what it is that I want to do with my life. And I told her I was studying broadcasting and majoring in liberal arts. And it I told her about my story about the selective mutism and the bullying and my disability. And I got promoted to be a host for Radio Disney New York. And I started working literally right after I had graduated because all of this happened around my 5th month of working.
Wow.
And then my 5th month, the 6 months for school, I graduated and I started my new job at Radio Disney in New York. And
Wow.
that was, yeah. And it was super cool because I got a chance to travel to different cities and work with so many different people. A lot of people that I've have looked up to many years, but also I just were able to just gain so much experience. And then I started working for Disney Theatrical, and I there was two different positions under one company, so literally collecting two separate checks.
Wow.
Which going from nothing to,
Wow.
it was just really crazy, and my schedule was unbelievable. I was actually forgetting things, and during that time, I do remember my hearing seemed to was getting worse, and it was a little bit tough for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there was a lot of anxiety, a lot of sweat. That's just what I remember me, because I was very busy and running around in New York City, making sure I make. Sometimes I'm working Radio Disney and Disney Theatrical in the same day,
Wow.
so it was a lot. But I because of the mark that I made in the company in New York, I was inducted into the Disney Alumni Association, which was super cool, because that means that for the rest of my life I get certain perks and opportunities, which 11 years later, or 12, I don't know, I may be telling my age, but I had the opportunity through Disability Belongs to be able to consult to become a film consultant for Disney's Inside Out too.
Oh,
So yeah, so it's great to have that sort of relationship with them. So that's where everything started, and then I established my company, Spoken Entertainment. That's my media company, where I started the podcast Sessions with Steven, which was a piggyback off of Storytime with Steven, with the when I would sit on the Disney store floors and just read books and stories. And I wanted to do that, and I did that strategically because I know people are infatuated with entertainers and things of that nature, which I love entertainment, but I pretty much use that to be able to plant different seeds to be able to share my story just a little bit, and just because I was afraid. I just knew I was great at journalism, and that's it. And I got more comfortable and more comfortable. But then the discomfort came when I started to do more red carpet events, and I was bumping into people, and I didn't understand why. It was scary for me. I'm like, what is going on with me? Am I just this nervous about my hearing? I didn't really know. And it wasn't until it was a family gathering, and my mother, I'm asking my mother, where is my aunt? And she's like, Steven, you can't be serious. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, she's right there. I had to turn my head all the way, because the thing about Usher syndrome, your peripheral vision starts to decrease. So I had no idea that she was right there. So I got diagnosed with Usher syndrome after that. And there I had to figure out my life, like, what am I going to do? Because there's no way that I would be able to continue journalism. I tried to continue, and I just remember this event where a celebrity tried to shake my hand. I was too nervous and afraid, and I couldn't see, but everyone was like, she's trying to shake your hand. And someone, I was able to meet her hand. And that night I tried to commit suicide, which I would say to anyone that's listening or watching out there to never do that, because, and I'm gonna tell you why you should never do it. You just shouldn't, because you shouldn't take control of you. You wasn't in control of your birth date, and you shouldn't be in control of your death date either.
Right.
But also, I'm glad that I wasn't successful in that. I had to ask myself, like, what is it that I've never done before? And that was just to be honest and 100% to own my disability, and just to share. If I'm going to die, then I might as well just be honest. If I have it set in my head basically what I said was, let's see how this works. And if not, then in next week or two, then I know what it is. And I spoke to the media about it, of me going deaf-blind, and it went viral. I was all over the news and everything, and next thing you know, I was invited to Capitol Hill to receive the U.S. Challenge Coin for making history as the world's first Black deafblind journalist. And the reason why I've never saw anyone else that was like me is simply because I think the space and it was waiting for me to take on that role. So anyone out there, sometimes you may not see anyone like yourself, and that might be because you are that person to take on that role. So yeah, so it had I was successful in suicide, I would never have known that.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad you were not successful because your life is so important. I mean, every life is important. But yes, that role was waiting for you, and your life is going to encourage so many people. A couple of things I want to hit on here. So in our family, we do have someone in our family who also has retinitis pigmentosa. So just for people listening, if they're trying to understand kind of what's happening, my understanding of it is you can still see pretty well in certain areas, but then other areas are completely gone. And so you might be able to look over in a room and see one person totally fine, but the person next to him you can't see at all.
Yeah.
That's what was happening to you on the red carpets?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And contracted everything too. So
yeah. And I know in our family's experience, it sounds similar to yours. This was not something they expected. They didn't know ahead of time that this was going to happen, but they, like you, started noticing that it was harder to do the things they normally did. And so I know that sounds like that was your experience too. And that's really scary when you know.
Yeah.
So I want to know, how did you get that courage to start telling people this is what's going on?
I think I just honestly, I was, when you reach that mindset of the end, what is the worst that can happen if you're telling the truth then? You know, and that was pretty much my mindset, that I might as well just see what would it be if I actually said something? Would anyone actually really care? You know, I didn't even know there was a whole community out there of those supporting people with disabilities. Like I volunteered for Give Kids the World Foundation, or those sorts of things. Even through Disney Volunteers, you know, I was considered an angel, which is what they call their volunteers. So I enjoyed volunteering, but I didn't enjoy being the one that had the disability. I just, because I'm such a giver, I love people, and I like to, that's just me.
Yeah.
But when it came to now me needing the help and the assistance, and not knowing all of the answers. By the way, I don't believe I've ever always known all of the answers. But it's just that it was just a really scary feeling. So literally, it was just, I felt like I was at the end, and what is the worst that can happen when you're on the other side of fear? You know, let's see what happens. And I rolled the dice, and it worked for me, and my mindset has completely changed. And I just try to make sure that I am encouraging others, do not take that route. It's so not worth it. And it the rewards are so sweeter when you have patience, not only towards other people, and that giving others that grace, but also to ensure that you give yourself that patience. It's just so important. And you would just see, and as they say, just the way the game is played, it's just best if you just wait your turn.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen. We all got to give ourselves some grace sometimes.
Yeah.
That's a good word.
Yeah.
So, throughout everything that you've been through, how has your faith impacted your journey?
Ooh, yeah. I can't believe I've ever gotten to a space of almost losing my faith.
Yeah.
I mean, after, because trust me, before all of this, just me being a man of color, a Black man, growing up in an urban environment, trust me, that was just enough. Us not even having all of the resources, which is one of the reasons why it wasn't until I was 30 years old, already an established journalist, just hadn't made history up at that point, but I was already an established journalist, and it wasn't until I was 30 that I found out that I had something called Usher Syndrome. Weird though, when I'm speaking and meeting with different legislators and things, it's crazy. But a lot of people who were born into, just not poverty areas, but maybe in a middle class life or they actually were tested for all different things. But when you don't have the best insurance,
Right.
no doctor is going to go above and beyond just to make sure. It's just like, hey, that's above my pay grade. So
Yeah.
and that's exactly the treatment that I had. So yeah, it was definitely a lot, but I'm just glad that even through all of that, I'm still standing, and now I'm able to, with all the work that I'm doing, to be able to provide those resources to those from in all classes of life. Because for me, it doesn't matter. I'm going to pour back into the community,
Right.
whether it, whatever class you're a part of. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, when your mom had told you about that God had made you in his image, did that have an impact on you at the time?
Yeah, I think at that time I didn't really, a lot of things I received in a moment, and then
Yeah.
some things I received very much later, because at times my mother and I, we would have conversation, and she would say, "Remember, I used to tell you this. I used
Yeah.
to tell you that."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I do remember. Whatever." But yeah, like
Yeah.
yes, I do remember. And the things that she said, without her even knowing what my full story was gonna be,
Right.
it's crazy. And then a lot of things were just so true. So I am beyond grateful for what life has brought to me. And just
Yeah.
because, I would say, for those again who are listening and watching, just because you are grateful doesn't mean that your life is perfect. You
Right.
you don't have to wait for you to finally be happy, and for that happy ending for you to claim your gratitude. And gratitude opens up a world of just so much, love and prosperity, and God is with you, and I just think it's just so important to make sure that you hold on to your faith, because that was the most expensive thing that money couldn't even buy, that I almost really lost.
Yeah.
And I'm just so grateful that I did not. So now I know, trust me, there are times that it may get up pretty testy, but I'm just like, now my response is just wondering, okay, God, what are we doing here? Why am I standing over here? What is happening? But you just be patient. I'm telling you. And if you don't have the answer right then and there, just be still,
Yes.
and and it will come to you. So
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know if you're like this, but I find like with my ministry, I never know what's coming next. I kind of just wait there until God tells me what's coming next, and then I just try to do my
Yes,
best to keep up.
yes, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I never have the answers, but I like being still while you're waiting.
Oh
I got to work
yeah,
on that.
yeah. You have to. You
Yeah.
have to. I mean, because I mean that's better than trying to take control of what is not within your control,
Yeah.
and then you done screwed up something. So
Yep.
I rather it be in the nature of God's hands, and as God makes no mistake. So you just gotta allow it. You have to. And some of us, yes, we are very much in control of our lives. We like to make sure that, you know, things are right, but at times we're gonna have many moments in life that we just don't have the answer to. We don't have the key to every single door,
Yeah.
and we just have to wait for God to open those doors for us.
Yeah.
It might be okay to knock one or two down, but
Yeah.
and just see what happens.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. I'm going to put this on repeat the next time I need to hear it. All right. So, Stephen,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about Spoken Heroes.
Yeah, so Spoken Heroes was born out of my love and pain, and my hopes and dreams for the community. And it's my way of giving back and pouring back into the community. Our mission is to bridge the gap between the able-bodied and disability community, and we do that through our specialized training that specializes in self-advocacy, workforce readiness, that's accessible and accommodation training, as well as communication. And we do that all with the element of storytelling as well, which is kind of different in a way. But with me being a journalist,
Yeah.
I love to spotlight others and give others that opportunity, which will be our heroes. And our heroes, they have the opportunity through these activities and engaging training that they get to share their story too. And it's super cool. And I've literally seen the transition through my students from coming in the classrooms and being extremely nervous and literally shaking, and um, to being absolutely very comfortable and taking over the microphones. And it's just pretty cool. So we're really enjoying it. And one of our main goals is to make sure that we're um, increasing the percentage of disability employment,
Mhm.
because I've been someone who's been terminated due to my disability more than once. And it was wrongful termination, and I don't want these students who are the voices of tomorrow to have to deal with that. If we're training them about the ADA and their rights, and if you know your rights, you will be extremely confident with going anywhere, traveling anywhere, going up to any job, and you'll be confident in advocating for yourself. A lot of them don't know that. Because a lot of my students, I would ask them on your job applications, are you marking that you have a disability, or you're marking that you do not? And some have said they normally would say that they do not.
Mhm.
And I'm like, no, you can't do that, because that is what's going to save you in the long run when you may be wrongfully terminated. That you've spoken about that.
Yeah.
So it's many different things,
Yeah.
but they have been amazing and amazing. So I'm just proud of them and how far they've come.
Yeah. So if people want to find out more about Spoken Heroes, where should they go?
Oh yeah, so we have our website, that's www.spokenheroes.org, as well as you can find us on social media as well. So all information is there, and we will hope that you're able to absolutely support and just get involved. There's so many ways of being able to support, whether you're volunteering, donating, whatever it is. Um, it's so important for us to just pour into our community and make sure that everyone is involved, even with the parent and family support group. That's a way to make sure that the parents and families, of course, are involved in understanding. We support the family. That way, the families will have a better understanding on how to support their children as well. So,
And
yeah.
do you guys also help the business owners and the businesses to understand?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do consult with businesses
Yeah.
to advocate for our heroes and to have them understand the specific disabilities. So even when the interns first come on board, which by the way, they are compensated as well, which is something that we work really hard for
Yeah.
with Fox Family Foundation, who's invested into Spoken Heroes as well. So we're very grateful for that because that has been, you got to put your money where your mouth is. And I want them to know that their work is absolutely worth being compensated for. We're going into the big world here, and unfortunately, we live in a world that is based on capitalism, and the only way, in a way, to survive is I want them to know that they still can dream. Oftentimes, when we as people with disabilities decide to dream and go after our dream and get a paycheck for it, it's almost like you're going to get in trouble
Right.
by government, or
Right.
you should just be very lucky that we're doing this for you. And I want them to carry that pride within themselves. And I want them to know that they too are an asset to the company. So, and I really have seen before my eyes that these students are very confident, and they're very strong, and the parents are supporting in ways that they didn't before. And that's so important, because trust me, I've had moments where I just didn't know how to communicate my thoughts to my family. So
Right.
yeah, but now it's better. It's so much better.
Yeah, I would just really like to encourage people to check out your website because it's there's so much to learn, whether you're on the family advocacy side or you're on the employer side. You
Yeah.
might be an employer that says, yeah, we know how to do this, but you really don't. There's so much to learn and so many things you've never even thought about. I think the best way we can bridge that gap and get everybody working together is through education and for people learning. So please check out Spoken Heroes, and
Yeah.
let's just become a better understanding society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, we should want that for not only for ourselves, but for our families, for our friends, for our neighbors, for the crossing guard at the street. We really have to. That's the only way that we're going to be able to really live a life of inclusion. And when you travel outside of the United States, you really start to see that not all countries are just as the same as this one. And I know that I truly believe that we can get to a space where we all actually can support each other, no matter our differences in race, in our class, in our job, in our careers, in our lifestyles. We really should always, because we're still human beings. We're human beings, whether you have one arm, three arms, whatever, So
Yeah.
absolutely,
But it starts with communication. So
it does.
yeah, it
It does.
really does. So I just hope people will check out your organization because it's even like from an employer's standpoint, you don't know what you don't know. And you want to start learning things before you need it. Because you
Yeah.
want to start building things the right way from the beginning. So I can't say it enough times. We need to start asking more questions, learning from more people, and finding out what we don't know so that we can become more inclusive and we can get people in
Yeah.
the workforce that want to work.
Yeah, exactly. And we can use those funds that are used for Social Security benefits or anything that because you may be a person that you're sitting there on a dream, and you're absolutely talented enough to actually go after them and achieve them. And we could just use those funds to for anything, for more accessibility, to invest in that, to make sure the streets are clear, and those sorts of things. So it actually is a benefit to it starts with you, and you really can be the change that you want to see in the world. One person may not be able to kind of change the world, but I do believe that it definitely takes one to inspire another to do that. So,
Amen. Well, we have really enjoyed speaking with you today. If there is one thing you want to leave with listeners today, what is it?
I would say to take your time. Take your time. You must be a student of life. And as you know, as students, even in an institutionalized sense, you don't just graduate after day one of school. It just doesn't work like that. So take your time, soak up the knowledge, and know that anything small or big, it definitely contributes to something. So even if you want to get out there and you want to volunteer, that small day, you don't have to be someone that volunteers 100 days out the year. You can actually volunteer twice a year if you like. But trust me, you actually do make a difference. So take your time and be patient. Be patient with yourself and be patient with others. And there goes a healthy and beautiful society.
Well, I love it. Thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you for joining us
Thank
today.
you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
If you or someone you care about is struggling, please reach out for help or call the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988. You are not alone. To learn more about Spoken Heroes, please visit spokenheroes.org. And to see what we've been up to at Wonderful Works, check us out at wonderfulworksministry.org. And don't forget, if you like this podcast, please follow and share with others. See you next time.